All right, so welcome back, everyone. Get ready, because today we are diving deep into Freyjanity.
Ooh, Freyjanity.
Yeah, we're going to be looking at their beliefs, their history, and really trying to understand how they fit into this whole Ragnarok saga.
Right.
You know, you sent me a ton of info on Ragnarok Online, all the lore and the characters and everything.
Yeah.
But, I was looking through it all and I kept thinking, why Freyjanity specifically? What is it about them that makes them such a key part of this world?
Well, I think one of the most fascinating things about Freyjanity is that they're not just like passively waiting for the end of the world.
Right.
They're not just sitting around twiddling their thumbs.
Yeah.
They're actually out there trying to make things happen.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah.
Before we get to like the end of the world and all that,
Sure.
Can we just back up a bit?
Of course.
For those of us who maybe haven't, spent every waking moment reading up on Ragnarok.
Yeah.
Can you give us just like a Freyjanity 101? Like, who are they? What do they believe?
All right. So Freyjanity is a religion centered around the goddess Freyja.
Yeah.
And it's practiced mainly in the Arunafelt states.
Arunafelt states.
Yeah, it's kind of like this secluded nation.
Okay.
Very devoted to Freyja. And the whole idea of her second coming is like central to their belief system.
Second coming. So it's not just about worship. There's a whole like return of the king thing going on here.
Exactly.
Okay, so what makes them so sure she's coming back?
Well, a lot of it has to do with their history.
Okay.
So you see, the Arunafelt states were actually founded by Norman alchemists who migrated from Rune Midgarts, and they brought the worship of Freyja with them.
Oh, okay.
And these alchemists, they became like the ruling class.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it created this really fascinating dynamic with the native people.
Oh, I bet.
Who were seen as kind of second-class citizens.
Right. A clash of cultures right from the start.
Yeah, and you know what they say? That rarely ends well.
It does.
And in this case, it didn't. The original Arunafelt states was actually destroyed.
Oh, wow.
But that didn't stop the Freyjanity movement.
Really?
No, the descendants of those original followers, they eventually regrouped, re-emerged, even stronger in their belief.
Wow. So they're resilient.
Oh, yeah. And they see this destruction and resurgence as mirroring Freyja's own story.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Which brings us to the Day of Despair.
Wait, so this destruction, this wasn't just some random event.
Nope.
It's all tied into Freyja's story and their belief that she's going to come back.
You got it.
Okay.
The Day of Despair was massive.
Yeah.
Huge turning point in Ragnarok's timeline.
Okay.
I mean, it marked the end of the Age of Gods
Wow.
and the beginning of the Age of Man.
Right.
And Freyja, she was deeply involved in all of this.
Okay.
I mean, she unleashed her fury on Midgard.
Really? Why?
It was all about revenge against Odin.
Whoa. Revenge against Odin. That's a bold move.
It is.
I'm guessing it didn't really work out for her.
Not quite. She was defeated and imprisoned in Vanaheim.
Vanaheim.
Yeah, but here's where Freyjanity's faith really shines.
Okay.
Despite their goddess falling, they never lost hope. They believe this imprisonment is temporary.
Oh.
They think Freyja will break free eventually
Right.
and return to Midgard.
So let me get this straight.
Yeah.
Freyja gets defeated. She gets imprisoned. Basically goes off the grid.
Uh-huh.
But her followers are convinced it's just a setback, like a pause before the big comeback.
Exactly. Like they're just holding their breath, waiting for her to make a grand entrance.
And they're not just like passively waiting, are they?
Oh, absolutely not. They are actively preparing for her return.
Okay.
And they're taking some, let's say, drastic measures to do it.
Drastic measures. Okay, this is starting to sound a little ominous. What have they been up to?
Well, based on the information you sent me, it seems like Freyjanity has really stepped up their activities in the Age of Man.
Like what?
Well, they've been spreading propaganda,
Yeah.
causing disruptions in the Midgard's kingdom, even resorting to kidnapping.
Kidnapping.
Yeah.
Okay, now things are getting serious.
Right.
What's the end game here? What are they trying to accomplish with these kidnappings?
It seems like they've set up this hidden laboratory.
A hidden lab?
Yeah, and they're conducting experiments.
On who? On what?
Well, the subjects of these experiments are the children they've kidnapped.
Oh, wow.
And it gets even more concerning when you consider what they're using in these experiments.
Oh, it's that.
Fragments of the heart of Ymir?
The heart of Ymir.
Yeah, you know that thing.
Okay, yeah, that rings a bell.
Yeah,
Can you remind me, like, what exactly is that?
sure.
And why would Freyjanity be messing with something that sounds so powerful?
Right. So imagine the heart of Ymir as like the lifeblood of Midgard.
Okay.
So when Odin defeated the primeval giant Ymir, he scattered fragments of his heart across the world. And those fragments are what sustain Midgard.
So they're pretty important.
Oh, hugely important. They ensure its growth and stability.
Okay, so we're not talking about some metaphorical heart here.
No.
This is a real, tangible thing.
Exactly.
And Freyjanity is using pieces of it to experiment on kidnapped children.
Yeah. It seems that way.
That's messed up.
It's definitely ethically questionable,
Yeah.
but it seems like their goal is to manipulate these fragments
To do what?
to open a dimensional portal to Vanaheim.
Yeah, no, that's where Freyja's imprisoned, right?
Exactly.
They're trying to break her out.
It seems so. They believe that's the key to freeing their goddess and ushering in her second coming.
So let me make sure I've got all this. Freyjanity, they're playing with some serious power here.
Oh, yeah.
They're messing with the essence of Midgard, all to free their goddess from, like, cosmic jail.
That's one way to put it.
Talk about dedication.
Right. I mean, their belief in Freyja's return is absolute.
Yeah.
And they're willing to take extreme measures to make it happen.
Okay, so we've got Freyjanity. They're on a mission. But how does this all tie into Ragnarok itself?
Well, that's where things get really interesting.
Okay, before we go there, I need a minute to, like, process all of this.
Sure.
The heart of Ymir, dimensional portals, kidnapped children. It's a lot to take in.
I hear you. It's a lot. It's this complex web of beliefs, history, actions.
Yeah.
But that's what makes exploring Freyjanity so fascinating. They're not just a religious group. They're a force to be reckoned with.
Right, potentially shaping the fate of Midgard itself.
Exactly.
Okay, I think I'm ready to dive back in.
All right. Let's do it.
Let's unpack this connection between Freyjanity and Ragnarok.
Okay.
I need to know, like, how could their actions actually be influencing this world-altering event?
Let's explore that further then. It's a connection that reveals a lot about faith, ambition, and what happens when we mess with forces we don't fully understand. You know, it's kind of like Freyjanity is trying to bring Freyja back, but they might actually be setting the stage for Ragnarok without even realizing it.
Okay, so how could their actions be unintentionally, like, fueling the very thing they're trying to prepare for?
Well, think about it this way.
Okay.
Ragnarok, at its core, is a clash of titans, right?
Right.
You've got gods and goddesses with their own agendas,
Yeah.
mortals fighting for power, and these ancient forces like the heart of Ymir all swirling around in Freyjanity by actively trying to disrupt this whole delicate balance. They're essentially throwing fuel on the fire.
So it's like they're trying to bake a cake, but they accidentally used a whole jar of chili flakes instead of sugar.
Exactly. Their intentions might be good, but the results could be pretty explosive.
Yeah, I'd say so.
And, you know, they're dealing with forces they might not fully understand, like the heart of Ymir.
Right. And speaking of the heart of Ymir, you mentioned earlier that the Schwarzwald Republic is also experimenting with those fragments.
Right.
With their advanced technology.
Yeah.
How do they fit into this whole Ragnarok picture?
Well, that's a really crucial piece of the puzzle. Remember, Schwarzwald, they're all about pushing the boundaries of science and technology.
Right.
They see the heart of Ymir not as this sacred relic, but as a source of power that can be controlled and harnessed.
So their experiments, even though they seem scientific, could actually be really dangerous.
They could have some unforeseen consequences, maybe even destabilizing Midgard.
Okay, so we've got Freyjanity on one side, driven by their faith and this desire to bring their goddess back.
Right.
And then we've got Schwarzwald on the other side, motivated by scientific ambition and the pursuit of, like, technological dominance.
It's like a cosmic tug of war.
And Midgard's the rope in the middle.
Oof, that's a good one.
Right.
And what's even more interesting is that both Freyjanity and Schwarzwald are basically trying to control forces that are inherently uncontrollable.
It's like they're trying to bottle lightning, and we all know that doesn't usually end well.
Exactly.
So if these powerful forces are already in motion, are we just along for the ride?
That's a question philosophers have been debating for centuries.
I bet.
It's the classic free will versus determinism dilemma.
Right, right.
But in Ragnarok, it takes on a whole new meaning.
How so?
Well, we've got prophecies and legends, right?
Yeah.
Cycles of destruction and rebirth that suggest a predetermined path.
Okay.
But then we also have individuals, both gods and mortals, making choices that shape those events.
Right.
It's almost like the world itself is alive,
Wow.
constantly reacting and evolving.
That's a pretty wild thought.
It is. So it's not just about knowing the prophecy, it's about understanding the choices that shape it.
So maybe Ragnarok isn't just this unavoidable doom,
Maybe not.
but a result of all these decisions and actions, big and small.
Exactly. And that's what makes Freyjanity's story so compelling.
How so?
They're not just waiting for the apocalypse, they're actively trying to influence it. Their belief in Freyja's return is so strong, they're willing to risk everything to make it happen.
Even the stability of the world.
Even the stability of the world, yeah.
But what if, and hear me out on this,
Okay.
what if in their zeal to bring Freyja back, they're actually playing right into the hands of the forces they're trying to stop?
Now that's a thought, isn't it? It kind of suggests that they might be accelerating the chaos and destruction they fear, all in the name of restoring balance.
That's a heavy dose of irony.
It really is.
So they're trying to prevent Ragnarok on their own terms by bringing about their version of a happy ending.
Yeah, but the problem is they might not have all the pieces of the puzzle.
What do you mean?
Well, they might be missing some crucial information or misinterpreting prophecies.
So their actions could be like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
It's a possibility.
They're so focused on stopping one thing that they're blindly stumbling towards it instead.
It makes you think about the nature of faith, ambition and the consequences of playing God.
Who are we to decide what's best for the world, right?
Exactly. And even with the best intentions, our actions can have unforeseen consequences.
That's a good point.
And it's not just about gods and monsters anymore.
Right.
It's about human choices.
Yeah.
The potential for good and bad. And realizing that we might not always understand the forces we're messing with.
This is making my head spin.
I know, it's a lot.
It's not just a simple story anymore. It's about real choices,
Absolutely. And that's what I find so fascinating about this whole thing.
What's that?
It challenges our traditional idea of good versus evil.
Oh, tell me more about that.
We tend to think of Ragnarok as this battle between good and evil, with the good guys trying to stop the end of the world and the bad guys trying to bring it about.
Yeah.
But in the world of Ragnarok Online, it's not that simple.
Oh, okay.
Like Freyjanity, for example, they're not necessarily evil.
Right.
They genuinely believe they're working towards a better future.
A future with Freyja at the helm.
Exactly. But their methods are questionable, and their actions could have consequences that actually align with the forces they oppose.
So it's not really about good versus evil then.
Yeah.
But about different perspectives, different interpretations of what's best for the world.
You got it. And that's what makes Ragnarok so compelling, so morally ambiguous.
You're not just rooting for one side to win.
Right.
You're trying to understand everyone's motivations and beliefs.
And recognizing that even good intentions can lead to unintended, potentially disastrous outcomes.
It's like that saying, the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Exactly. Freyjanity might think they're saving the world.
But they could actually be paving the way for its destruction.
It's a possibility.
Wow, that's a powerful thought.
It is, and it highlights the importance of critical thinking, questioning assumptions, and considering different perspectives.
Because even in a world with prophecies and these seemingly predetermined events,
choices still matter.
This is really making me rethink everything I thought I knew about Ragnarok.
It's complex, isn't it?
It's not just about gods and monsters anymore.
Right.
It's about human choices.
Yeah.
The potential for good and bad. And the realization that we might not always understand the forces at play.
And that's what makes this whole deep dive so interesting,
It really is.
We're not just exploring the lore of a game.
Right.
We're exploring the very nature of existence itself.
Wow, you're getting all philosophical on me.
I can't help it.
But you're right, there's so much depth to this.
There is.
And it's exciting to think about how all these threads, the prophecies, the characters, the organizations, the ancient forces.
It's all connected.
Yeah, how they all weave together to create Ragnarok.
And the big question is, will it be a tapestry of destruction or rebirth?
Ooh, that's a good one.
That's what we need to figure out.
Well, I don't know about you, but I am hooked.
Me too.
This deep dive has been a roller coaster.
It has.
And I am ready for the next loop.
All right. Let's dive back into the sources. There's still so much to uncover.
I can't wait.
I have a feeling we're just getting started.
Okay, so there's one thing that's been kind of bugging me about this whole Ragnarok thing. It's this cyclical nature of it, you know?
Yeah, the recurring pattern.
It's not just like a one-time apocalypse. It happens over and over again, destruction and rebirth.
It's a cycle.
So if it's going to happen anyway,
Yeah.
does it really even matter what Freyjanity does?
That's a good question.
Like, is bringing Freyja back just a drop in the bucket of this, cosmic history?
That's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
Because the sources suggest that each Ragnarok, it's not exactly the same as the last.
Oh, interesting.
They're all unique, shaped by the events and choices that lead up to them.
Okay.
It's not like a fixed script, you know?
Right.
It's more like this ever-evolving narrative influenced by gods, mortals, even tricksters like Loki.
So you're saying Freyjanity's actions, even if they manage to bring Freyja back, could actually change how Ragnarok plays out?
Exactly. They're not just preparing for it, they might be shaping the very nature of it.
That's a pretty powerful thought.
It is, right.
It means even in this world with these, predetermined cycles,
Yeah,
individual choices still matter.
they do.
Freyjanity's faith in their goddess, Schwarzwolf's pursuit of technology, even our everyday actions.
It all adds up.
Yeah.
Weaving this tapestry of events that leads to Ragnarok.
That's a pretty awesome thought,
I know, right?
but also kind of terrifying.
A little bit, yeah.
Like, we're all part of this giant story,
We are.
and the ending is constantly changing based on what we do.
A collaborative effort.
I love that it highlights why we need to understand not just what happens in Ragnarok,
Yeah.
but why it happened.
Exactly.
What are the motivations, the choices?
The chain reactions.
Yeah, all of that stuff that leads to this big event.
It's all connected.
So it's not just about the prophecy itself.
No.
It's about the human element
Yeah.
that drives it.
Well, divine in this case.
Right. Divine, of course.
But yeah, the choices that are made.
And that's what makes this whole Freyjanity thing so fascinating.
I agree.
It's like a window into the minds of people who believe in a totally different future. A future shaped by their goddess.
Even if it means embracing destruction to get there.
I gotta ask,
Yeah.
are they really okay with the whole destruction part?
Well, remember, they see Freyja's return as the ultimate good. They believe she'll bring peace and prosperity and the destruction. They see it as a necessary evil, like a cleansing.
So, you can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs.
Something like that.
But in this case, the omelet is, planet-sized.
Yeah. And there are a lot of eggs involved.
Makes you think about the cost of progress, right?
It does.
Even if their intentions are good,
Yeah.
are they willing to accept the collateral damage? What about the people who don't share their beliefs?
Those are big questions.
This is heavy stuff.
It is. It's not just a simple good versus evil story anymore.
Right, it's about different visions of the future
Exactly.
and what might be a utopia for one group.
Could be a dystopia for another.
Exactly, and that's why exploring these ideas is so important.
It makes us think critically and
Yeah.
question our assumptions.
I think we've definitely given our listeners a lot to think about today.
I hope so.
Before we wrap things up,
Yeah.
is there one key takeaway you want to leave everyone with?
I think the biggest one is this. Even in a world governed by fate and prophecy, our choices still matter. Every action, no matter how small, can have a ripple effect,
Wow.
shaping history, maybe even influencing Ragnarok itself.
That's a really powerful message.
It is.
And it applies to more than just Ragnarok,
Absolutely.
It reminds us that we all have a role to play in the future.
And that even when things seem impossible,
Yeah.
there's always hope.
And the power to make choices.
Exactly.
It makes you wonder about the cycles in our own world, doesn't it?
It does.
What choices are we making today that could shape the future?
Something to think about.
Wow. You've given me a lot to ponder today.
It's all about the journey of discovery.
And it never really ends, does it?
Nope.
Well, expert speaker, it's been a pleasure as always.
Likewise.
To our listeners, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into Freyjanity and the world of Ragnarok.
It's been fun.
Keep those minds sharp, and until next time, keep exploring.